Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, Banlist season is upon us in both TCG and Master Duel, and I figured, hey, let's talk about the ban list and my predictions. These are always things that I like thinking about, and this is something that just like I enjoy doing, even though I'm not nearly as familiar with the current meta in the TCG. I still like to think about it and kind of guessing what people have said. Yeah, that's what I like to do. And as you could already see, we're going to start with the banned cards, or what I expect to be the banned cards for the new ban list. So these are cards that are just like too oppressive or really annoying or just like have caused issues for quite some time. So yeah, let's just hop into this. First of all, Artifact Scythe. I think this needs no introduction. Locking out the extra deck shuts down so many decks nowadays and basically is a turn skip for so many different strategies that, you know, just dealing with this card by itself is super annoying. Sure, it's easier to deal with than something like a Buster Lock, but that's not saying much. Also, because of the fantastic stat lines and all of these various different things, it can also allow you to go into Baron, which allows it to be technically a 2-turn extra deck lock. So there's that. Just an obnoxious card. Many people want it banned, and quite frankly, I do think Konami will be banning this card. As I said, this is more of a prediction list, and Scythe just seems to be the problem card of the format. Even more so than some of these other cards that we're going to talk about. So this is the one I'm most confident in, and even with that being said, it's like a 50-50 shot. Who knows? Konami could just like flip a coin and not have it banned. Next up, we have Mystic Mine. This one, the reason I'm finally expecting it to be banned, whereas normally I wouldn't expect it to be banned, is simply due to the fact that it has topped quite a lot of events and has been the reason why the decks that are at the top have gotten there. This card alone won a Hartford, won a YCS in Hartford, as well as has allowed other decks to top and get like second place and stuff like that in other YCS events, which is the big Konami sanctioned event. And I think Konami doesn't want this card that is just to draw, pass, draw, pass, draw, pass, to really be played, because that makes their game look really boring. And I don't think Konami wants that. So I finally think, in the TCG, this card might be banned. Again, this one could be up in the air. It could be a coin flip. Who knows with Konami? We could still see it at 3. I do expect at least some hit to it, even if it's just like a semi-limit. But because of the prominence of this card in particular in the meta, I do expect to see it more often. And the poster child for banned cards, or things that should be banned but aren't, Crystron Halqifibrax. I don't even think I need an introduction or an explanation. It's Crystron Halq. They recently unreleased a Jet Synchron from the ban list, just one, and it immediately ruined the format. I don't think this card's going to be sticking around, especially since we are getting Splight in like a couple of days, or like basically from the time the ban list is going to arrive. I expect sprites to be playable, so I would expect this card to also be banned because of those cards. So yeah, that's all for the bans. Let's move on to the limits. Before we get on to the rest of the video, did you know that 70% of the people who watch my content aren't subscribed? If you end up liking the content, consider subscribing. You can always unsubscribe later if you end up not liking it. Anyway, let's get on to the rest of the video. So, limitations are a lot more difficult in this format due to the fact that there isn't really a powerful deck that needs limitation, that needs to be hit. It's just kind of like a whole bunch of generic stuff. And with the introduction of the sprites, there is a chance that all of these hits just end up not mattering and just prevent the meta from being more diverse, like it was in the OCG, where sprites were basically tier 0. So, let's just get on to what I kind of expect Konami might do. First of all, a hit to Punk variants. There are a lot of Punk variants running around and topping tournaments, as well as a lot of other decks utilizing this specific card. Emergency Teleport. There's no hard ones per turn. It's a quick play, and it's broken. It's absolutely insane. It gets a full set of... Basically, it makes Crystron Halka Vibrax, but also it does a myriad of different other things. I want to say million and myriad. It does so many different things as well. So I expect some sort of limitation to this card, or just punks in general. This is the card that I feel like is most likely to be hit, just due to its generic nature. But, I don't know, some sort of punk or Therion hit. I don't know. This one is, like, also kind of up in the air. The one that's not up in the air is Water Enchantress. I believe Water Enchantress to be the card that is most likely to be hit from the Adventure Engine. We've already seen the limitation to 2 on both Water Enchantress and Rite of Aramesir in Master Duel. We have both Water Enchantress and Rite at 1 in the OCG, and I think in the TCG, Adventure is still just as powerful. However, I think Konami doesn't want to just entirely get rid of the token, so they're going to try and limit the other cards surrounding the token. So they want to keep the token around, limit Water Enchantress. That's my expectation. Again, because the meta is so varied and there are so many different decks, sure, a lot of them are using the Adventure Engine, but because it isn't necessarily, like, used in the best decks, it's not used in Tenyi, but it is used in Branded. So it's one of those things where it's like, it definitely deserves a hit and should be hit, but I don't know. It's either they limit just the Water Enchantress to 1, or they limit both the Water Enchantress and the Rite of Aramesir. I don't know which one it's going to be. It's either going to be a huge hit or something more like this, where it's like, oh, if they end up seeing Water Enchantress, you have a whole bunch of ways to interact with it, but they can still get the token. So yeah. Moving on, we have Longwan. I put this on here because, again, I think Sword Soul needs some sort of hit along with the Branded Fusion. These are just like hits to the quote-unquote best decks of the format. I don't know. This format is, again, so diverse. You could basically play anything, and there are so many different decks that you can play. So hitting any card right before Sprites come out, feels terrible. So I keep saying, like, I don't know what to hit, and it's just because the decks that you can play are so varied, and it doesn't really matter because they're all about to be power crept into oblivion. I still think Konami's going to hit cards because, of course they are, and so these are just the 2 that I would expect. Longwan allows you to, if it is drawn, to make more powerful plays by just, like, immediately going into a 10, like a Baron, which, you know, all of a sudden that's an Omni Negate on 3 summons, which is kind of annoying, or it's just like a really good follow-up. However, having to search the long one makes it less powerful, because then you can only go into the level 10 long one, I guess, less consistently. So I would expect this one. That's just my assumption. It could be this, it could be Moye, it could be Emergence. This was my guess. Branded Fusion is like the only hit that you need to do to Branded. The deck wasn't top tier until this card came out. Now it's top tier. Gee, I wonder what the card hit is. Pretty simple. There are a lot of Floodgates that are currently running around that are absolutely everywhere and just played in meta decks and just quote-unquote ruining the format. This was one of them. This is the one I decided to limit to 1. I don't think Konami's going to hit a lot of Floodgates, or even more than 1. They're already gonna, I would imagine they hit Mystic Mine. I don't know if they're gonna want to hit another one. They banned Imperial Order on the last one. Maybe they hit Anti-Spell because it's basically Imperial Order. I don't know. It's either this, or Gozen, or Tikaboo, or Rivalry, or Skill Drain, or Skill Drain should never have come back, but I don't think they're gonna unlimit that, or change that. So I don't know. There's so many different choices for this one. This was the one I chose. It was in so many decks as well that I looked at. Like, this was in every sideboard. Kind of dumb. Moving on, we have 2 unlimits, basically, where I'm putting them to 1 just because I think Konami's going to get a little little bit spicy with this upcoming list. First of all, we have Blaster, Dragon Ruler of Infernos. This card has been power crept to oblivion. This card's bad. It's a fire. I don't know what else to say. Fires are terrible. This is the weakest of the Dragon Rulers, currently still at 0. And Dragon Rulers, honestly, aren't that strong anymore. I know, blasphemous. However, let's be honest, they are not. The reason they were so good was because they special summon themselves, heaven forbid. There's a card that does that. As well as they were able to constantly gain advantage. We have Tri-Brigade. We have Sword Soul. We have Despia. All of those decks do that same thing. Constantly gaining advantage. Not really that amazing anymore. Grass is a spicy choice for me. Realistically, I think Grass might come back to 1 because Terra Elements are coming out. And with Terra Elements, allowing Grass might incite people to buy more copies of the Terra Elements because they want to make a 60-card list and use that Grass Look Screener to make very high-powered plays. So I do think there is a chance this card comes off because of Terra Elements. Or just because, you know, it's not all that powerful anymore. Yeah, it's good. And another reason, I think, is because I think Konami wants more various deck sizes. And since a lot of decks were already playing 60 cards, having a Grass could just end up being a pretty mediocre card or just like a dead card. So there you go. Let's move on to the semi-limits. Yes, there are a few that I think might happen. And by a few, I mean a lot. So most of these are just cards that have come off the list and not really done anything, or something along those lines. Things that could come off or come out from 1 and be fine. So these are just kind of like unhits, basically. I don't think there's anything that they're going to put from 3 to 2. I don't know. Konami does weird things. They might hit like a Pot of Prosperity, Pot of Duality. Who knows? Moving on. Time Seal, terrible card. It can come back to 3. Konami's going to put it to 2. Now, I think either Launcher or Archfiend could come to 2. That's my guess. Don't know which one. I would imagine Launcher probably, because that's what it's like in Master Duel, I think. Or maybe in Master Duel it's just one of each. I don't remember. In the OCG or something like that, one of these is at 3. I don't remember which one. One of them can come off. Not both, apparently. Destrudo has been at 1. No one plays it at more than 1. It's at 3 in Master Duel. I don't know if it's at 3 in the OCG. Probably. No one ever plays it at more than 1. So if you don't think this card's a problem, yeah, you can unlimit it. No problem. Gazelle. I don't know. This one's weird. Because they just got circled back to 3. And all of a sudden, Salamangreat has been, like, resurging in popularity. But even with that being said, I do think that Gazelle has a chance of coming off of the list. I still don't think it's a, like, meta deck. And it's definitely not going to compete with something like the Splight decks. So, there's that. Gazelle to 2. This one probably is least likely, but still. I saw it on there and it's like, Gen X Ally Birdman. This was used in, like, FTKs and the like. This card's just not good anymore. It special summons itself as a tuner. That's not really too surprising. It's level 3, so who cares? Luna Lights had this card at 1 in most of their decks prior to it being banned. It's now at 1. Luna Lights aren't doing anything, therefore can come off the list, so they'll put it to 2. Yatagarasu, same thing. It was at 0, and people wanted it to come off the list. They put it to 1. Didn't do anything. It was played in, like, a few Flunder decks. It kind of. And, like, nothing else, and no one really cared, and it never really did anything. So, there's that. Yeah, it could probably come off the list. And last, we have Beatrice. Beatrice, I don't know why it's at 1. The only deck that really played this at more than 1 was actually Burning Abyss. However, yeah, Burning Abyss sucks at the moment. Like, it's just, it doesn't really do anything. or I should say do enough. So, yeah, Beatrice could come off the list as well. Is that likely to happen? I don't know. Yeah, that's all my semi-limits. And lastly, we have a few unlimits. First of all, Fusion Destiny, because Verte was banned. I don't know. Maybe Fusion Destiny comes off the list. Wall of Revealing Light was put to 2 last lists. They're gonna bring it to 3. Same with Trick Starlight Stage. Same with Dynamite Knight. All of these cards, except for this one, haven't really done anything since their limitations. This one, I think, is a little bit more hesitant, or Konami is a little bit more hesitant to do, simply due to the fact that if you put it to 3, are people going to be willing to play the Garnets for DPE just to play DPE? And realistically, I don't think so. That would... maybe, but probably not. You're playing 5 cards, 2 of them are dead to produce 1 card. Potentially, but again, I doubt it. So yeah, that's it for the ban list prediction. Now, I'm not too familiar with the TCG. I've played a fair amount of it myself, but not too much. So I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with this list? Do you guys disagree? What would you add or remove or change? Just let me know, because I would love to know. I love theorizing and crafting these lists and just kind of thinking about the game. So I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Anyway, that's going to be it. Hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it. If you did, a like is very much so appreciated. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.